With the 1144 scale RC combat model, semi-scale model of the IGN battleship Yamato. Uh, I'm not going to take a lot of pictures of this because there's already been a bunch of pictures already posted, but we're going to do a weigh-in with the empty weight of the ship, meaning no batteries, no CO2, no ammunition on board, no receiver battery. And then we're going to do a tour of the interior, and then we're going to do a tour of the equipment inside the interior. But just to give you a quick overview of the model, the hull was built by Ralph Cole over 23 years ago. The deck and hatches were made by Charlie at Battler's Connection in Florida, who builds the maker and supplier of RC Combat hulls and accessories and equipment for RC Combat. And the fiberglass, or the superstructure itself, meaning the base, the funnel, the tower. We're talking about the raw look now, without any details on it. Was made by Ralph Cole out of fiberglass, using plans from ships of the Anatomy series. The original turrets on the ship for combat were removed after the refit from 12 years ago, and were replaced with the Grey Wolf Squadron, or the Battler's Connection, termite armor rubberized turrets. So they have detail, but they're impervious to BB damage. They're meant for RC combat. The secondary guns here are made out of vinyl resin that Ralph made. These were purposely built for RC combat, hence lacking detail for the guns here. These were also made by I believe Battler's Connection as well, and also I got these from Battler's Connection. So these were very specific for RC combat. The tower itself is not the original look. The original look was actually modified about 15 years ago when I did a refit after a few years of RC combat. So there was a lot of damage, and it needed to be refitted. The planes are the Airfix 1144 scale model airplanes. They've been there since day one, so they're very old. They're ancient. The original catapults have since been removed, and I just threw some sticks together and put some catapults on it for now. But suffice to say, it'll do for now. The crane itself, too, I know it's not an accurate-looking crane, but that's been there since day one. Same with these things. So there's a lot of things that need to be accurized on the model. However, there is a lot of BB damage on the model, and there are some pieces missing. There's a little dome here. It looked like one of these guys. It's missing here, which I need to replace, and there's some other details missing. But most of the details are there from the days of RC combat. So this model was cleaned up for the show back in October, and it's probably got about 20 layers of paint on the deck. The hull frame is cut out and sheeted over 1/32 balsa wood. Now that's been stripped at least a couple of times in this model's life. Ralph made the hull. It doesn't have the straight stem as it should, but back at the time when he was making the mold, he couldn't get it the straight stem. The fear was that BBs were going to damage it and take chunks out of it, and he had a hard time really trying to get the bow as correct as possible. Same with the stringer. The stringer was kind of all crooked and everything, and it was wavy, and it was really hard to keep it straight. He didn't square off the stern area. I think it's supposed to be squared off a little bit here, like a little indentation. This is the Battler's Connection rudder used for the game. You don't have the scale rudder, but you can have a larger rudder for the sport. Of course, your model didn't have these tubes down here, but these are meant for water pickup and to cool the engines. And of course, in this area here, there's these little bulbous discs, little balls here with holes in them. These are the ejection ports for the wastewater for the engines. So, and these propellers here are drag props, and they're fixed, and that's by the rules of the game. Not a lot of detail in this area because it will get shot off, so there's very low detail around that area there as well. Most of the detail here is made for BB combat, it's BB proof. All this area here will be removed for RC combat, as these cannons fire 3 rounds per second, and we've got 2 cannons here firing 2 rounds per second, and another 2 there for 2 rounds per second. These are BB cannons that are mounted up through the deck. Okay, so the model carries 350 rounds of ammunition, semi-automatic. I control each of the guns, but the guns are paired up and so that they can fire simultaneous rounds in large barrages. The hull itself doesn't have a very pronounced torpedo blister, and the reason for that is because you're using a 1/32 soft balsa hull sheeting. It's very difficult to get around that very pronounced bulge there without splitting the balsa. So to make it easier, Ralph elected to kind of round it down a little more to make it easier to sheet, which worked very well. So we'll do an empty weight, and then we'll do another review.